63% of Americans between the ages of 55 and 70 report waking up multiple times during the night, every single night. And here is what makes this more than just an inconvenience. Every time you wake up, your pulse spikes, your blood pressure jumps, and you interrupt the phase of deep sleep where your brain clears out metabolic waste, where your neurons repair themselves, and where your heart genuinely rests. Years of losing that phase is a direct path to hypertension, depression, and accelerated brain aging. Clinical research shows that nocturia, repeated nighttime waking, stresses the cardiovascular system faster than smoking. That is not an exaggeration. That is published clinical data. And here's the part that should stop you cold. The standard advice, melatonin, Ambien, wind down before bed, avoid screens, addresses almost none of the actual biology behind why this is happening to you. Most people treating this problem are treating the wrong thing entirely. I'm Dr. Marcus Reid. I'm 58 years old. I practice in Boston, and I specialize in brain health, metabolic function, and aging for adults in their 50s, 60s, and beyond. I'm not here to sell you a sleep supplement. I'm here to show you what is actually happening inside your body between 2 and 4 in the morning, and why the answer has nothing to do with insomnia. If you want health information explained clearly, with the science behind it and no sales pitch, subscribe to Dr. Marcus Reid right now and hit the like button. Now, let's get into this. The myth I hear every single week in my practice: I've always been a light sleeper. Or, I just need less sleep as I get older. Everyone my age wakes up at night. I need you to hear this clearly. Waking repeatedly during the night is not normal. Not at 55, not at 65, not at 75. A healthy body is at any age it is designed to sleep 7 to 8 hours without interruption. There is a specific biological mechanism that makes this possible. And when that mechanism breaks down, there are specific, identifiable reasons why. Here is how it's supposed to work. Your brain produces a hormone called antidiuretic hormone, also called vasopressin. Think of it like a night shift manager sending a message to your kidneys. Slow down, concentrate the urine, work in economy mode. This is what allows a healthy person to sleep through the night without their bladder filling up and waking them. When this mechanism works correctly, you sleep. When it breaks down, for reasons I'm about to explain, your kidneys run at full speed while you're trying to rest, and your bladder fills, and you wake up. But here is the critical insight that most people completely miss. In the majority of people over 55 who wake up repeatedly at night, the bladder is not the problem. The kidneys are not the problem. The real driver is somewhere else entirely. And until you find it, nothing you do at bedtime will fix what's happening at 3 in the morning. Let me tell you about a patient I'll call Robert, 67 years old, retired engineer from outside of Worcester, Massachusetts. Solid, self-sufficient man. Not a complainer, the kind of person who only comes to see a doctor when he's genuinely desperate. Robert was desperate. He walked in carrying a folder of results: bladder ultrasound, PSA test, a stack of prescriptions. He told me immediately, "It's my prostate, or God forbid something worse. Do something. I'm losing my mind." He described the timeline. First, 1 trip a night. Ignored it. Then 2, then 3. For the last 6 months, 4 or 5 times every night. Imagine that. You finally fall into sleep and you're yanked out of it again and again and again. Robert had done what the internet and the advertisers tell you to do. Since he was running to the bathroom, his prostate must be the problem. He went to the pharmacy. He bought the marketed supplements, the saw palmetto, the herbal blends. He also reasoned that if he was producing so much urine, he needed to drink less. So he imposed a strict cutoff. Nothing after 6 p.m., not a drop, and he still got up at 2 in the morning and released half a liter. At 4 in the morning, another half liter. Where was it coming from? He hadn't drunk anything since dinner. When he sat in front of me, eyes red from months of sleep deprivation, I looked at his labs. PSA, completely normal. Mild first-degree benign prostate enlargement, the kind that does not produce this clinical picture. His bladder was clean. No stones. From a urological standpoint, he was nearly healthy. So I stopped asking about how he urinated. I started asking about how he lived. Any shortness of breath? A little, he said. When I climb to the 3rd floor, I have to stop and catch my breath. But I smoked for 20 years. I only quit last year. Did his ring feel tight by evening? Did the elastic of his socks leave a groove in his leg when he took them off? Yes. When I take my socks off, there's an actual indentation in the skin. But doesn't everyone have that? And right there, the picture clicked into place. I told him something that stunned him. Robert, throw out the prostate pills. You don't need a urologist. I'm referring you to a cardiologist and a sleep specialist. He looked at me like I had lost my mind. What does my heart have to do with it? I'm running to the bathroom, not clutching my chest. But he listened, and here is what the specialist found. The cardiologist identified early-stage heart failure, hidden with no dramatic symptoms. During the day, Robert's heart was working at its limit. It could not fully circulate his blood volume, and fluid was pooling in his body tissues, primarily in his legs. And the sleep specialist found obstructive sleep apnea, brief, repeated pauses in breathing during sleep that disrupted the production of antidiuretic hormone and forced his kidneys to work actively during nighttime hours. When Robert was taking prostate supplements, he was trying to fix a leaking faucet while a pipe had burst in the basement. Let me walk you through the physics of what was happening in his body, because this exact mechanism is happening in the majority of people who watch this video. Picture a plastic bottle half filled with water. When it stands upright, the water sits at the bottom. When you lay it on its side, the water distributes evenly throughout. Your body works the same way. 16 hours a day you are vertical. Standing, sitting, moving. Gravity pulls everything downward. Blood, lymphatic fluid, the fluid between your cells, all of it migrates toward your feet and ankles. When we are young, our blood vessels behave like strong elastic tubes. The valves inside our veins hold blood firmly and don't let it pool below. The muscles in our legs, when we walk, act as a pump, pushing blood upward against gravity. But with age, or with a sedentary lifestyle, this mechanism weakens. Veins expand. Valves start to fail. The muscle pump shuts down because we're sitting at a desk or on a couch all evening. Fluid seeps out through the vessel walls into the soft tissue of the legs. In the loose connective tissue of your calves and ankles, up to 1.5 liters of water can quietly accumulate over the course of a day. 1.5 liters. That's 3 large mugs of coffee, and you may not even notice it. Maybe the socks left a slight groove. So what? Now comes the evening. You get home from work or your daily activities. You have dinner. You sit in front of the television. From 7 to 11 at night, your legs are hanging down. Gravity keeps working. Fluid keeps accumulating in the tissues of your calves. Then you turn off the television and lie down. And here is where it becomes critical. Your legs rise to the same level as your kidneys and your heart. Gravity no longer holds the fluid down in your legs. All that fluid, the water that collected over 12 hours in the sponge of your leg tissue, begins rapidly returning to the bloodstream. It is reabsorbed into the veins and rushes in a powerful wave toward the center of the body. The volume of circulating blood rises sharply, within a single hour. Imagine that someone injected an extra liter of fluid directly into your circulatory system within 60 minutes of you lying down. That is not a metaphor. That is precisely what happens to your body every night when you have hidden fluid accumulation in your legs. And at this moment, a small but powerful hormone steps onto the stage. When the returning fluid from your legs reaches the heart, the right atrium begins to fill and stretch beyond its normal volume. The heart recognizes that the system is overloaded. so it releases a hormone called atrionatriuretic peptide into the bloodstream, a chemical telegram to your kidneys. The message is brief. Dump the excess fluid immediately, or I will fail. Your kidneys shift into emergency mode. They filter the blood at an accelerated rate, expelling water and sodium to protect the heart from overload. The result is predictable. Within an hour of lying down, your bladder is full. You get up, go to the bathroom, come back. But the fluid from your legs has not finished mobilizing. The process continues. 2 hours later, full bladder again. And the cycle repeats until morning. That is why Robert, who had not drunk a drop of water since 6 p.m., was releasing half a liter at 2 a.m. and another half liter at 4 a.m. He was quite literally drinking through his legs. His legs had stored 1.5 liters of fluid during the day. At night, all of that fluid funneled through his kidneys. No supplement, no herbal blend, no prostate pill could stop it, because those interventions were targeting the completely wrong organ. Now, let me show you how to check whether this is actually happening in you. No imaging, no blood draw. Just your hands and 2 minutes. Test 1. The hidden fluid test. Sit comfortably. Expose your lower leg between the knee and the ankle. Find your shin bone, the hard surface along the front of your lower leg that has no muscle covering it. Place the pad of your thumb against that bone, roughly 4 to 6 inches above your ankle. Press firmly and hold for 10 to 15 seconds. Then remove your thumb and run your fingertip across the same spot. What do you feel? If the skin immediately springs back smooth and flat, no significant hidden fluid. But if your thumb left a pit, a dent that doesn't fill back in for several seconds, that you can see and feel, you have just located a hidden reservoir of fluid. Even if your leg doesn't look swollen from the outside, that pit is evidence that your tissues are saturated with water. And at night, all of that water will move through your kidneys. Test 2. A simplified urine diary. Take one day and do some simple measurements. Record your urine output separately, daytime and nighttime, including the very first urination after waking in the morning. If your nighttime output exceeds 33%, more than 1/3 of your total daily production, that is called nocturnal polyuria. It means your kidneys have inverted their schedule because of fluid redistribution, not because of your bladder, not because of your prostate, because of a physics problem in your body. If both tests come back positive, the pit stays on your shin, and your nighttime urine volume is large, your bladder is almost certainly fine. You don't need surgery. You don't need a procedure. You need to work on your circulation and your daily routine. Now, let me tell you about the foods that are silently programming your kidneys to do most of their work while you sleep. You're probably eating them at dinner, and you genuinely believe they're harmless. Hidden salt is the first one. We've been trained to think of salt as something that comes out of a shaker. But 80% of the salt most people consume comes from processed and packaged food. Cheese, cured meats, deli sausages, mayonnaise, canned goods, crackers. 100 grams of ordinary hard cheese contains as much sodium as an entire bag of potato chips. You don't taste that sharp saltiness. It's masked by fat and flavor. But it's there. Here's what happens overnight. You eat a cheese sandwich or cold cuts at 7 p.m. The sodium enters your blood. Your body immediately activates its defense. Too much salt, we need to dilute this, and begins holding on to every molecule of water it can. You're not running to the bathroom in the evening. The salt is locking the water inside your blood vessels and tissues. But overnight, your kidneys detect that accumulated sodium and begin actively expelling it, and sodium pulls water behind it. The result? You wake up in the middle of the night, not because you drank too much. You're eliminating last night's dinner. Evening sugar is the second enemy. A cup of tea with cookies before bed, a small apple, a handful of crackers with peanut butter. Simple carbohydrates in the evening cause a rapid blood sugar spike. Your pancreas fires off a burst of insulin, And insulin, beyond its blood sugar role, signals your kidneys to retain sodium and water initially. Then, 2 to 3 hours later, right around the time you've fallen asleep, blood sugar drops sharply. Your kidneys switch to active fluid excretion. You wake up. Alcohol before bed is the third. Many people tell me a small glass of wine or spirits helps them sleep harder. They don't even hear the urge to go. Here's the biology. Alcohol does help you fall asleep faster. It acts as a sedative, but it is simultaneously one of the most powerful blockers of antidiuretic hormone, the night shift manager we discussed at the beginning. Alcohol cancels that signal entirely. Your kidneys run at full filtration speed with no restriction applied. The sedative effect may allow you to sleep through the first urge. The bladder fills past the point of comfort, and the second urge becomes impossible to ignore, and your sleep quality throughout the night is profoundly poor. Without deep, restorative slow-wave sleep at all, you wake up completely exhausted and with a bursting bladder. The outcome is worse than if you hadn't had a drink. Now, let me give you the protocol. This costs nothing. No equipment, no prescriptions. I call it the Golden Protocol. 3 parts: morning, daytime, and evening. Part 1. Morning. Starting the pump. When you get out of bed, stop for 30 seconds before heading to the coffee maker. Rise up onto your toes, just 1 to 2 centimeters, and then let your heels drop back down to the floor with a light, firm impact. You should feel a mild vibration traveling from your calves up through your thighs. Repeat this 30 times at roughly 1 drop per second. 30 seconds of your morning. What this does, physiologically, inside your veins are small valves, folds of tissue that prevent blood from flowing backward and pooling downward. The rhythmic vibration of this exercise literally shakes them back into action, encouraging blood to move upward against gravity. This is the best prevention for evening leg swelling, and it starts at 7 in the morning. If standing is difficult, painful knees, back problems, do this instead. Without getting out of bed, raise both arms and legs straight up and shake them with small rapid movements for 60 seconds. It looks ridiculous. The clinical result is entirely real. Part 2. Daytime. The waterfall method. Here is one firm rule. Picture a graph of when you drink fluids throughout the day. For most people, it looks like a hill with the peak in the evening. They come home from work and pour 3 cups of tea back to back. We need to shift that hill far to the left. 70% of your total daily fluid intake should happen before 4 in the afternoon. A glass of water immediately after waking. Water at your desk during the day. Tea and soup at lunch. After 4 p.m., only small sips to relieve dryness. Thirst is dangerous. It thickens the blood and raises clotting risk. But after 4 p.m., we turn the tap down. And one simple sodium control step: remove the salt shaker from your dinner table entirely. Salt food only in the pot during cooking. That single act reduces daily sodium consumption by 20 to 30% without changing what you eat. Part 3. Evening. This is the one that changes everything. Approximately 1 to 1.5 hours before bed, while you're watching television or reading, do what I call the lazy elevation. Lie down on the sofa or on the floor. Place your legs up on the armrest of the couch, the back of a chair, or prop them against the wall. Your heels must be higher than the level of your heart. An angle of roughly 45 degrees works well. You don't need to go perfectly vertical. Just elevated, comfortable, supported. Stay in that position for 15 to 20 minutes. You can read, scroll your phone, listen to a podcast. What happens during those 20 minutes? Gravity now works for you instead of against you. It pushes the fluid from the sponge of your lower leg tissue back into the bloodstream while you are awake, alert, and in control of your evening. Your heart receives the signal of increased volume and releases the hormone to clear the excess. Your kidneys shift into active filtration mode. Your bladder begins to fill. 30 to 40 minutes after you finish the exercise, you will feel the need to urinate. You will go and you will release 300 to 400 milliliters, the exact volume that would otherwise have woken you at 3 in the morning. You understand the principle. You are wringing out your legs deliberately before you sleep. You are giving your kidneys their workload in the evening while you are awake so that at night they can rest. If you have visible swelling in your legs, add graduated compression stockings. Put them on when you get home in the evening and wear them until your shower before bed. They prevent fluid from pooling in the lower leg tissue during those evening hours. One final piece, and this one you do lying in bed with the lights off. 20 to 30 repetitions of Kegel exercises. But 90% of people do this incorrectly. They squeeze their buttocks, tighten their abdomen, clench their thighs. That accomplishes nothing. Here is how to do it correctly. Imagine you are trying to prevent passing gas. Or imagine pulling your pelvic floor, the region between your legs, upward, like an elevator rising from the ground floor to the 5th. Your abdomen must remain completely soft, your buttocks relaxed. Only the internal pelvic floor muscles work. Contract, hold for 3 seconds, slowly release. 20 to 30 repetitions. This sends a signal through the nerve endings of the pelvic floor directly to your brain. Toned muscles, controlled signals, the neurogenic overactivity of the bladder, the state where it fires an alarm at every small sensation, decreases. The bladder stops panicking at minimal urine volumes and begins operating in a calibrated, normal mode. Roberts started this protocol with undisguised skepticism. "Doc," he said, "what kind of nonsense is this? Legs up the wall? Are you serious?" 1 week later he came back and said quietly, almost not believing himself, "I woke up once, near morning, once, not 5 times. After 1 month of consistent practice, he was sleeping through the night." His cardiologist noted at the next visit that the swelling in his legs had improved substantially. His heart was working with noticeably less strain. This works because it is built on physiology, not on wishful thinking, on physics and biochemistry and neuroscience. It requires exactly one thing: consistency. This is not a pill you swallow and forget. You do this every day, but that is precisely what makes it genuinely powerful. How old are you right now? Drop it in the comments below. This mechanism I just described becomes progressively more pronounced as the venous system ages. Research consistently shows that in people over 50, nocturnal fluid redistribution occurs roughly 3 times more often than in people under 40. Your age changes what I'd prioritize first for your specific situation. Tell me in the comments. Here is your action plan for tonight. 5 steps. Step 1. Do the thumb test on your shin bone right now. Press and check whether a pit remains after 10 seconds. Step 2. Tonight, when you get home, elevate your legs for 15 to 20 minutes before bed. Couch armrest, back of a chair. Wall. Just get your heels above your heart. Step 3. Remove cheese, cured meats, and condiments from dinner tonight. Replace with something without hidden sodium. Step 4. No alcohol tonight, or any night for the next 2 weeks. Track what happens. Step 5. Before sleep, do 20 to 30 correct Kegel repetitions. Only the pelvic floor moves. Everything else stays relaxed. And if the pit in your leg stayed after the thumb test, if you notice shortness of breath climbing a flight of stairs, if your socks leave grooves in your skin by evening, don't go to a urologist first. Go to a cardiologist and a vascular specialist. That is the critical path. Your body is not broken. Your bladder is not your enemy. It is a signal. Now you know how to address the cause instead of silencing the alarm. Everything I've covered today is for your education and understanding. Your situation is unique. Use this as a starting point for a real conversation with your physician, not a substitute for one. If your last appointment ended with "take this pill and come back in 6 months," and you still can't sleep through the night, that's what this channel is for. subscribe to Dr. Marcus Reid, hit the bell. And if you know someone who has been lying awake every night for years, told it's just aging, told it's just the prostate, told it's just how it is, send them this video. That conversation might be the one that finally gives them their sleep back. I'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves. I mean that.